Hello, guys. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. How is it going, guys? See what's going on here. All right. I will let people in slowly. People are joining in. Hey, Adnan, good seeing you. All right, let's see what we have here. Okay.
Hey, see, I'm good seeing you too.
Yeah. All right, we have some new faces and some old faces. Let me see. I will, and it everyone has like their AI note taker now. So I will be just checking on that a little bit. Okay. All right. We're gonna wait. We are going to start uh exactly within 5 minutes or like 3 minutes. I'll just wait for a little bit for others to join in. It takes a while for online people to basically get notified and do basic setups. So, all right, let me see. All right. Okay. Okay. Well, before we start, maybe we can just go through some basic house keep up activities. So if you won't mind kind of like turning your video on at least on the initial phase, just so that we can see some faces. Okay, great. I can see some faces, and there are some cameras have two people, which is even great. All right. And if you don't mind, if you can also share a little bit in the chat, like which city or state you're joining in from, that would be amazing. Because we will have a lot of participants coming in, we might, depending on the number of people, we might keep the audio option open or closed. I mean, we'll see how it goes, and then in the end, we will have a Q&A, audio Q&A. I think people are still joining. So Govind is from, hi Govind from Sunnyvale. Okay, so it's probably a little bit earlier. How about others? Where are you guys joining in from? I'm from, at this moment, it's a little late, like 8 p.m. New York time. Yeah, I know that there are some other folks in East Coast time as well. How about others? Where are you guys joining in from? You can share in the chat, New York, because Zavos, yeah, nice meeting you. I don't know if I met you in person. I feel like I might have met you in person. Your name seems, your face seems familiar.
Yeah, we met.
We met in person in some event. Well, great, man. Thanks a lot for joining. And then we have someone from Priyanka from Texas. Welcome, Priyanka. And all right, we have Ashraful from
California.
California. Oh, it's yeah, it's our Ashraful. How's it going, Ashraful?
Yeah, good. How you are?
I'm doing good.
Hey,
Uh,
Siam, you check.
yeah.
Hear me properly? I just wanted to check.
Sure. What's up? Mike, everything is good. Yeah, we'll start. I know that people will join in. I know that some people are still joining in, so I will be needing to do the housekeeping. But okay, I think we can probably start. Online sessions takes some time. People join in different times, so I will be. We'll start in a minute. Let me just make an announcement and just join there. Just give me a second. I think a few more people are joining in. All right, let's actually start. So guys, thanks a lot for joining on a Tuesday evening. I know that it's like it shows your dedication. I can see that some people are from West Coast, East Coast, different areas already, and some people are joining in. I want to be mindful for the time. We set it for 2 hours, but we will most likely try to wrap it up in 1.5 hours. We do not want to block your entire evening on Tuesday. And basically, I'll just start with like a little bit of the agenda, and then you'll have a little bit idea about about the timeline on how things will go. So some basic housekeeping. If you have any question during the session, feel free to just drop your question in the chat, because I do not want you to forget it. And we'll make sure that in the end we are keeping 10 to 15 minutes for any kind of troubleshooting you need, any kind of questions you have. We'll do a Q&A in the end. But if you have any question, please make sure that you are dropping all the questions. It would be great if you have your videos turned on. Not required, but it's helpful to have some kind of a face in the people. So that's another request. And I will basically share the agenda literally for like a minute, and then we'll stop sharing the screen. I don't like sharing the screen for too long personally. So this is kind of like the top line idea of the timing. We'll discuss about why AI engineering is important right now. We'll go through a quick Q&A. We'll talk about the major AI tools or libraries which are being used right now, or like a little bit coverage of those. We already sent you a lot of instruction for pre-workshop setup. I hope that you have already done it. If you have not, we'll take 5 minutes to do that setup. And then we'll dive directly into, let's say 20 minutes in from now, we'll dive directly into the actual workshop, which has two parts. One is that setting up your local environment, which will take 30 minutes, for roughly 20 to 30 minutes. And then we will have let's say part 2, which is deploying these AI models as an API. So that's the second part of the workshop. There will be a take-home task. It's not essential, but if you finish that take-home task, we'll give you a certificate. Certificates, personally, from my perspective, are not supremely needed, but if that motivates you, we'll also give you that. But in order to get the certificate, you will have to finish the take-home task. And then there will be some Q&A we can keep, based on how long it takes to do the actual workshop. We'll keep the last round of our meeting for any kind of Q&A you have. Literally any kind of open Q&A. You can introduce yourself, and we can take all those in the last part. So let's go with a little bit of introduction with literally maybe a minute introduction from my side, and then I'll pass it to Vivian. So just to give you a little bit perspective about what we do in Algorithm, we help immigrants in the US land high-paying tech jobs. So that's basically what we do. We run a boot camp, but we also work with companies to hire immigrant talent. So it's a two-sided marketplace. I have been a little bit of my own background is that started as a full technical person. I started, for those who doesn't know, as an iOS engineer in 2011. And then I became a mobile app developer, and then I was handling the whole technical architecture for a financial investment company based in Baltimore, which is called T. Rowe Price. They handle people's 401ks, mutual funds, things like that. And then I left the company in 2018. And then for the last, I would say 5-6 years, I have been dabbling startups. Algorithm is my officially third company. I had 2 other companies which didn't work out for revenue or other reasons. But now I'm pretty active in the startup community overall, doing fractional in couple companies. I do investment, and then also Algorithm is kind of like my full-time job right now. So that's basically a little bit of my background. I would say I have been in the industry probably already 15 years. So that's overall my career. But Vivian is, it's amazing to be having Vivian, and I'll pass it to Vivian, is that Vivian is actually my original technical mentor who taught me how to program on iOS. So I wasn't a person who actually was from a computer science background. I studied electrical engineering. And then Vivian taught me how to make iPhone apps. This was in 2011 11, I think. So it was really early. iPhone just came out. Whatever is happening in AI right now, iPhone was the same phase, I would say, in 2011, 12-ish, similar hype situation. So yeah, so Vivian taught me, and Vivian has probably more than like, I don't know, 20 years of experience in the technology field, AI, software engineering, mobile app, everything. I mean, once you have so much experience, you can pretty much do anything. But anyway, I will stop talking and I'll give it to Vivian to kind of introduce himself a little bit. And then, yeah, Vivian, the mic is yours.
Thanks, Siam. So since Siam already mentioned, I'm not gonna go too much deep into it, but a little bit of my background. I am really proud of what Siam is doing for immigrants, by immigrants, and as you can probably tell, I'm also an immigrant from India. I came here back in 2004 to US. I was initially in web development when the web boom was going on. So, or the web bubble, or .NET bubble, the whatever you call it. I was part of that. And then when an iPhone, Android came out, I was doing mobile development. And now that AI is out there, so I'm working on AI. I used to do a lot of training back in the days when Siam was part of my group. I started doing trainings online or in-person training, a part of Remote Tiger back in 2009, 2010, when mobile was really new and we wanted to teach a lot of people mobile development. And now it's the same thing I want to do with Siam is since AI is new, I want to do more on AI training. I've been working with Delta Airlines for last 8 years as a principal engineer. I work on different projects, be it data projects, mobile projects. I'm part of the innovation team. So one of the good part about being an innovation team is you get to do pretty much everything, but you don't have to make it perfect. So today we are probably going to cover some of that, where I will share some of the experience that I have and try to see how much I can teach you guys and walk through the entire process. I already got some questions on setups and stuff, so I'm going to answer them during now. I'll try to answer now, or I'll try to answer after. I'm getting emails, so I'll probably reply back the emails too. But yeah, the best way to communicate or ask questions is right now from chat, or you guys can always send me an email. I also run a YouTube channel. You guys can probably check that out. And I teach a lot of things, and a lot of new things are coming out in future. I'll keep you guys updated.
Yeah, I will give all the links like YouTube channel and LinkedIn, all these things. I'll drop those in the chat. So I guess like just to start off, before we go into the more hands-on part of the workshop, let's spend maybe like 7 to 10 minutes on a little bit of like some Q&A from my side about AI. And then, as I said, like guys, if you have questions, feel free to also write it in the chat. If we have time, we can do it before the workshop, but I want to keep majority of those for after the workshop. So I guess like first question to you, Vivian, and could be a question for everyone, is that like why is it such an important time to understand AI engineering in general, and what are the prospect of it? If you can share some insights, because you have seen a lot of technological waves, so from that perspective, why is it important now?
So yeah, so based on what we are covering today, I talk about AI engineering as like a field which is focused on designing, building, and deploying artificial intelligence systems. That's what it means. It's pretty much the entire thing. Now, when you're building AI projects, some of the things that you would want to know is have a good understanding is your data. Without data, you can't do anything in AI. And the reason AI is becoming more popular these days is because we have been moving in data quite a lot in last few years. And that's why AI, which sits on top of it, what happens is you have a lot of data, and you probably heard of big data and all the different data terms in last few years. There's like AWS came up with their own data warehouses, data lake house. People are building all these things just to get a better idea. I mean, even at think of it as like I'll give you an airline industry kind of example. Airlines has a lot of data in there. Now, to make these decisions, you probably see on a day-to-day basis, there are like flight delays, flight customer informations, bookings. There's a lot of data that flows in and out. Now we can use all that data and experience that we have to build tools. For example, I'll give you an example of a Sky Club or a lounge, an airport lounge. Now, back in the days, a lot of people were not using airport lounges or airport services. Nowadays, it's getting a lot common because a lot of businesses are getting into traveling and they go into all these lounges. Now, the problem that we face at Delta, one of the problems that we face is it's always overcrowded. If you've ever used a Delta lounge, you'll probably see it's always overcrowded. There's so many people. But at Atlanta Airport, where I'm from, actually, I forgot to mention I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. And when you say Delta, that's where we are based. Now, in here we have like a Sky Club every single terminal, and we have A to F terminals. Now, customers have this information that we have it, but they don't know where to go. So AI can help with the data that we have collected over the years based on the flights and information that which terminal will have less crowd. You can tell, like, based on the current systems, you can tell like, oh, what is the current capacity? But what if a flight just lands or a flight is going to take off? It's going to be crowded in next 30 minutes. So AI can actually look at the data from before and predict to you a couple of hours before, saying that, oh, this terminal is the best place for you to go to launch. So this is all possible through AI. And that's why, I mean, I always call AI is a fancy tool, but it's nothing but better technology. So we have better technology, better tools in place. It's Technology is becoming cheaper day by day. Like if you remember, computers used to be really expensive. Now laptops you can buy for $200, $300 because chips, I don't mean ruffles, I mean the computer chips and screens and memory is getting cheaper day by day. So that's why it's easier to do that, easier to sell cheaper, and that's why AI is becoming more popular these days. Just the term, but again, end of the day, you have to understand what you need to learn to do stuff. So again, so there's AI, and then AI has, as you know, we have machine learning, deep learning, and then we have generative AI, which is very popular. You guys probably use Chat GPT on a day-to-day basis. Now there's Chat GPT, Copilot, there is DALI for images, audio, video, everything. There was other day, Siam mentioned to me there's about a tool where I uploaded my own video for 2 minutes and it started making videos of me talking. I mean, I didn't upload my voice, but it was talking in some other voice. And I can't believe that it could do that. So, and you've probably seen a lot of examples online. So these days, I mean, for you might doubt that I'm even sitting here. I can create videos in such a way that I probably might be sleeping now. It's 8 o'clock. It's my bedtime. So probably I'm sleeping right now, but I'm making AI talk. But no, that's not true. Not
Yeah.
there yet. Uh, but yeah, so that's one thing. And generative AI has something called as conversational AI. That's what we are going to focus on today. Now, conversational AI is very important because in companies where you have customer support, the interactions that happen these days, um, for example, you are talking to Alexa or you're talking to your Google or your Siri, whoever it is, whenever you talk to them, they ask you for context, but they already know your context. For example, if you're using Chrome, one of my friend who works at Google, he mentioned that if you used Chrome in your life, they know everything. Google know everything about you. They know about your social security number, your credit cards, all the information. No matter how much they try to hide, we know that they know. So they can give you a better experience. As soon as you say, oh, I want to book a flight to, let's say, Paris. And they're like, oh, are you going to meet your family there? Then for Thanksgiving. So you will not even have to give them the dates that you want to travel. So conversational AI is not a chatbot. Chatbots is what we used to use. I mean, we are using today and in the past where you provide questions and answers. But conversational AI is more on the fact where AI knows everything about you, your context, and then answers. So that's what we'll be focusing on today. And yeah, I think I took your question a little bit more further, but just to answer it, I mean, AI is a bubble right now. There's a lot of different uh, technologies available out there, which one to use, which one to not use. Not everything will be popular, but we'll see. So that's why AI engineering is important right now, because a lot of companies are are hiring AI engineers. I was just looking for AI engineering jobs on LinkedIn 2 months back, and I could not. There were like one or two people who are hiring. Today, if you look at AI engineering jobs on LinkedIn, you'll probably see they're hiring a lot of people for AI engineering, and they are paying anywhere from 200 to 300K for someone who has 10 years experience. So I'll tell you what, based on my experience, what my prediction is. So back in the day, same thing used to happen when mobile developers were being hired. They were asked, "How much experience do you have?" Now, I started mobile development in 2008 when iPhone came out, and I started pretty early. And when companies were looking, so initially companies were looking for contractors, so it can be built somewhere outside. Then they went into hiring people online, in-house, when they knew that they want those entire teams to be built. So AI is at a point where it's still outsourced outside and companies are building it. Now, from the LinkedIn jobs, I can say that they're hiring senior level developers right now. So right now, people who have been using AI for a long time, I've been building AI tools since 2016. We started a little early at Delta, and we've been building since 2016. So with that experience that I have, I can say that, oh, I have 8 years experience working with AI platform. And there are jobs for that. After 6 months or so, next year, when 2025 comes, in 6 months, it will be more on, okay, if you have 1 year experience, if you have a couple of AI AI projects that you've built, we will hire you, something like that. So that's the trend that I see. Right now, it's all about senior AI engineers. And then in 6 months, these senior AI engineers will have architected the entire tool and they want to deploy it. And that's when they need AI engineers. And that's when the hiring will happen. So in 3 to 6 months, already if you see the startup companies have started that hiring. So yeah, that's where I see it going.
Okay, thank you. A lot of information there. Just trying to summarize and for my own understanding is that yeah, like first understanding obviously is the same iteration of like just repetition of the same message is that the however like there is a lot of data. Humans are not able to process this data. Humans' brains are not built for processing that large amount of data. So we eventually need the machines to kind of process the data for us and create like this, like find patterns, help deciding on things based on data. That's basically the summary. And the second one is that I agree with you, and this is a good observation, is that this is a very good time to start building AI engineering as a muscle, because when same as in iOS, like mobile, as you said, like this is so early. The architects or the senior people are building the initial infrastructure of companies, but then within the next 6 months or something, there will be a lot of hiring, or at least the hiring trends will shift from generic software engineering or generic business analyst role to most likely to more like AI related roles. I do want to keep the next two questions a little short because I do not want to go too long over time on Q&As. So question here is that maybe in short is that, do you think that because you have seen a lot of the industry for a long time, like 20 years plus, you have seen a lot of like hypes coming and going. There was the Web3 bubble, crypto came, there was VR. Some people tried with VR. Still, VR is still trying to scratch the surface. Do you think that this is a bubble or a hype? And if not, why don't you think so?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, I feel like the bubble is still in its early stage. And when you call it a bubble, like for example, when the web bubble came or even the blockchain bubble came, there were a lot of different companies who stayed and then some of them just disappeared. But we are at a very early stage to call it a bubble because we just came out of the data stage, like, with all the data collection. And now, so a lot of new companies, you'll probably hear a bunch of companies starting their own AI tools. Some of them are not even AI, but they say AI in front of it because they just sell. So I can probably say, algorithm AI technologies, where it's built by AI immigrants for AI immigrants, something like that. So that's what sells these days, and that's a good example of a bubble which is starting to form, and it will be. I probably take like 5 years or so until when it will keep on going. All the companies will mature into it, and then eventually AI will become a part of everything.
Understood. Last question, and let's basically dive into the workshop after this. Is that are I mean, this is a question I get asked a lot of times. Is that are AI agents now? I mean, this year all I'm hearing is AI agents, and next year I think this is what I also will keep hearing. You have Devin, which pretty much does all the coding. If you use Cursor, Claude 3.5, Sonnet, you can do so much as a senior engineer. So I'm not seeing any reason of hiring junior engineers anymore. You already spoke about Hagen, which is doing a lot of these like video. Like I'm seeing is the job loss for entry level, massive amount of job loss. Basically, this is what I am looking at. But yeah, how do you any thoughts about what is happening to the industry in general?
Yeah, I mean, every time there's a new technology, people think like they are going to lose their job, which is a good thing because that means that brings the older generation goes away, fades away, and the new generation has an opportunity. So based on, I think most of the crowd that we have, it's an opportunity where you learn something and then you pick up. Now, if you already have a job, a lot of my coworkers, including me, are looking to grow into the AI field. So it's just as like, when computers came initially, think of it as like when computers came in the first place, people thought that computers will take their jobs, but that didn't happen. Of course, it happened for people who didn't want to learn computers. But if you learned computers, you were the one doing that job, or you got promoted. I mean, I have a person who is working at Delta Airlines who's been here for 50 years, and she started as a ticketing agent. Now, when I say ticketing agent, nobody would call. There was no phones. There was no. Someone would come at the reception at the airport and say, I want to buy a flight ticket to somewhere. Think of it as like 50 years back when phones and there was no internet, there was no cell phones. People would come to the airport in person and buy the flight tickets and go take the plane. So she used to work from that time. Now she's a data analyst. So she has grown into from what she was into technology. So that's why I see like right now is a good time for everybody to learn AI and get into AI. Now, as per AI agents we can build on a regular basis, but you need someone to build those. So that's the person that you want to be, who's building these AI agents and giving it to companies. And that's what companies want to hire.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you. I think this is very good prime time for us to actually switch to the workshop. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I think some of you might already know that this is the direction the world is moving towards. And hopefully by the end of this session, you will learn something new. We are thinking of doing these sessions like more regularly if it is useful for you. But I think, Vivian, you wanted like a 3-4 minutes break for setting up your own environment. Let me
No,
just
no, no, not right now. Let's go over I think the next thing that we had was to talk about
elaborate.
the tools that we're using, right? Libraries. Let's talk about the libraries, and
Okay,
then we can take a break and I'll go over the setup one more time.
sounds good. Okay, so I am sharing my screen. I mean, if you want me, I can keep
Oh yeah,
sharing.
so just Google Hugging Face first thing. So if you guys have used Hugging Face, have heard of Hugging Face, it's a pretty amazing tool that is available. If you've been in technology for a little while, if you have heard of Stack Overflow, and then you know how you get all your answers over there. So if Hugging Face is somewhere where you get if you see on the top, we have models, data sets, spaces, posts. So models and data sets is something that you need to probably more focus on, where models are all these models that are available to us, which we can use, which are trained already. They're trained with a lot of data. So what happens is like, think of it as Chat GPT. What happens with Chat GPT is it's using a model. That's why it's called GPT, the transformer model, where it is trained with a lot of data so it can answer your questions. It knows stuff, and that's why it can talk as a person. Same as data sets. We have data sets which is a bunch of data that you can use to train your own models. I have some videos on YouTube where I'm showing how to train models with data sets. You can see those, but I'm going to use some models that are pre-trained today to do our conversational API. Now, if you click back on models, Siam, you'll probably see on the left side, you can also see all the different types like multimodal, where image image text to text, and then you have visual question answering, document question answering. Document question answering is something that I've used quite a lot, where you have a bunch of PDF files. Think of it as like, if in my school, if I had, I don't know if you guys followed the same thing when going for exams, I mean, I was very bad at exams. I would not study in school. I would have fun outside. I would hang out with the boys. And I was one of those bad kid that would not want to learn at all. But during exams, what I would do was I would go to someone who's very smart, who studied the entire semester, and ask them, give me a short conclusion of everything. Or I would go to the end of the textbook and just read the conclusion and try to give the exam and pass it. So document question answering is something like that. If you can put an entire textbook over there and ask it questions, and it will answer you, it will give you summary of the book. It will give you shorts of it. I mean, if you've done something like this with ChatGPT, you can upload an entire PDF file and ask it questions, and it will answer based on that. So that's so these are all different models that are available, which is open source, which you yourself can use to build something like ChatGPT. And that's what we will do today. One of the things which, when I say conversational AI, is what we are going to build using one of the Microsoft model that is available. So that's Hugging Face. So Hugging Face is a lot of data, a lot of library framework that are available. One of the important one is transformers. If you saw in the pre-webinar setup, one of the things that you had to install was part of this. Next is we have Flask. Now Flask is older. It's Python. It's a Python library to build APIs quickly. Now, I am not sure how much you're familiar with APIs, but every time you want to you write text on ChatGPT, I'm going to give you, or put something on the browser. It calls an API, and that API calls some data, and then data comes back and you get it. So Flask is a very quick way of building a web API or a website which is built in Python. So we'll see how to build using Flask, and we'll create a quick website with this. And next we have cloud platforms. Now, with Hugging Face, you have models, and what we will do today is the focused on first two things mostly. What you will be doing along with me is get some model from Hugging Face, use Flask to create APIs locally on your computer, and then I will show you quickly in the last 10 minutes or so how you can deploy to a server. That's up to you if you want to do it. I would recommend take your time, do it later, because there's a lot of steps involved in uploading to cloud. Now there's different cloud services available. There is Heroku, which we will be using today. You can use AWS, you can use Google Cloud. Google Cloud Console is very good too. I use it for my personal reasons. AWS, I use it at office, but Heroku is something that is available, which you can use, and it's pay per use, so it's quite convenient. So that's what we will be using. Now that kind of covers our tools that are available. Of course, there are a lot of different tools available. I think I saw something called as render.com, which has a free 500 MB limit. So you can use those, but for AI projects, it's very difficult to use those. But for Flask building APIs, you can use those because they're short ones. And then there is, I think there's Python everywhere or something like that. So there's thousands of them that are available, which have some free tier, and then they also have some paid versions. Also, there's pay as you go. So those are available, so you can check them out. But we are not going to focus much on the cloud, but we'll focus on building an API that will answer your questions as and when you ask questions. So next topic is, let's start with the pre-webinar setup. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have done the pre-webinar setup. Is there like I use Teams, but I don't know in Zoom, do you have like emotions where you can say thumbs up, thumbs down?
We have those, yeah. So Vivian, if you wanted to set up something, should I give it to you, or I mean they can react? So for everyone who is here, if you can if you are visually showing your video, great. If you don't have a video, there is this option called react on the bottom, and you can just literally react and say, if you have something, see that I have like a like, I'm giving a like, see that on my face there are so many likes. Yeah, there we go. So
Yeah,
just testing it out.
perfect. So yeah, so if you guys have you've gone through the pre-webinar setup, that's good. But I'll quickly run through it. I've created a video on YouTube too, but I will show you. Can I share my screen?
Yeah,
Same?
so I think we can dive into the setup and workshop again, or do you want to like
So
take a
just let me do the setup and then we'll take 5 minutes break. If somebody has to do it, they can do it
sounds
during
good.
this, and
So,
then yeah. And also this, so people who have not, who, I mean, I saw a message saying that they're not on their computer. We are recording this session and it will be available online later on.
yeah.
Just
And Vivian, what I will do going forward, just for like everyone's knowledge, is that I will be the timekeeper, just letting you know, because I want to make sure everyone has that time bound situation. But anyway, yeah.
I think the latest version is Python 3.13 or something. I think I have Python 3.12.7. It doesn't matter, it's very close to it. Sometimes I use a little older version because it's more stable and it has not everybody is up to date with their frameworks. For example, I think Hugging Face is still using 3.12. So if you're using 3.13, that might be a problem. But if it works, it works. And it changes every day since Python is very quick and a lot of people are there who are contributing to it, so it changes pretty quickly. So if you see any problems or issues, that's fine, you guys can follow along later. You can always go back to a previous version. It doesn't work. I will be using this version. So if you, on your command prompt or on your terminal, if you say Python, and also I'm using Mac, it's almost same as Windows command prompt. So if you're using Windows, you'll probably use that. If you're using Mac, you'll use this. Another thing that I saw in Windows, which is always a problem, is when you give really long, for example, this is the folder that I am in, users/Vivian. You are, let's say, in C drive, my projects, my computer, my XYZ, the project of my life. When you have like those long paths, things don't work properly. So try to make sure that your path is shorter wherever you're building the project. Next thing that I want is, so if you don't have Python, you can just go to the Python website. Where is my browser? I have multiple screens running here. So you can go to Python and you can just go get from here. That's the easiest way. If you want to get, like, as I said, 3.13 is the latest. If you want an older version, you can click on that particular version and download that from there. Next thing that you need is a code editor. As I mentioned in my the pre-setup, I'll probably open that to the same slide. We have, you can use VS Code, PyCharm, you can use TextEdit or Notepad, whatever works for you. I use the Sublime Text because that's, again, as simple as possible. I like to use VS Code, but I use Sublime Text because, let me open a new, because it's pretty simple and easy. So you get to learn quite a lot. When I'm doing office projects, I use VS Code because it has a lot of bells and whistles. When I am trying to teach someone, I use Sublime Text because I can teach each and every word that I type properly to you. So that's what I'm going to use for it. And next, Postman, that is used to run your APIs. So I am going to run my APIs from here. Looks like I was working on a prediction API earlier. So I have that here. I have a lot of different things here, but if you installed Scratch, but this is not required. You can run your curl commands or however you want to query your APIs, you can use those. And I'll be using curl, which works for both Windows and Mac. So I'm going to use curl command and Postman. And then we have prepare your development environment. Now this, I will run it one more time when I'm setting up my environment because I have a lot of libraries running on my machine. So I want to go through this again. Since I've done it earlier before, it installs pretty quickly. It does like few seconds, as you probably saw in the video. If you saw the video, it does that pretty quickly. So this is where I leave you for next 5 minutes. where if you don't have any of these available, I would probably say go and install it. As long as you can type on your computer Python dash dash version and see a version, that's all we need. As long as it doesn't say Python not installed, it's all good. And then we can walk through each step. So what we'll be doing is I will be showing you the code. At the same time, I will be copy and pasting that code in the chat. So you don't have to write the entire code, because if you're doing typos or something, that might cause problem.
Question, Vivian. Someone asked, can I run Bash on Windows?
Can you run Bash on Windows? Yes, you can. That will work too.
Okay, great. So, all right, guys, let's take a like 4 minutes quick break. Vivian, if you wanna have a quick break, or if you if everyone has done these steps, let's just like, yeah. I'll give the instructions here again. Feel free to stretch yourself, and then we'll just dive into the thing in 8:45 p.m. EST in like 4 minutes.
Yeah, I'll try to put the chat. I'll try to organize everything in place, because Zoom does a lot of things,
Yeah.
uh, which,
And you can stop sharing if you want, Vivian. I already gave the instructions in chat, in Zoom
yeah,
chat.
sounds good. Oh, I think when I stop sharing, I the organ my chat organization doesn't work fine. So I'll still chat. I'll still share. So I'll make sure all my windows are properly located.
Sounds good. All right, I'm gonna take a 2 minutes break. I'm gonna make a tea and come back. Right, I am back.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going? Right, should we start? Is everyone good to go? Should we, or can we get a raise of hands on, are we good to go? We do have to be mindful about time. It's okay, great. Looks like people are more or less ready. Great. If you are not ready, we will still keep going. I mean, you can watch this video later. We have you can watch this video later and finish it. No worries. But I guess Vivian, we can probably start.
Sure. So just to start with, I created a folder called as webinar 2024 1029, and this is the folder that I'll probably share with you at the end of this series, or post it somewhere so you guys can get it. And I have nothing inside there, just an empty file. So that's where we'll start from. So, and I will post each and every line of code that I write and talk to you about what I'm doing. Now, first thing that we need is, so I want to make sure that, let me see where I am on my command prompt. Go to desktop and webinar. So I am inside that folder, and inside that folder, we have nothing but just empty. And in here, first thing that I want to do is, as I mentioned, we need that framework. Usually what I do is in Python, I create virtual environments for each and every project. It's always a good practice to create virtual environments. Now it's up to you if you want to create or not. But the way you create virtual environment is Python -m venv, and then give a name to your virtual environment. I call it my virtual environment. I am sorry to give this name, but usually I give a more better name for your project. So since this is more on creating a model, I'll call it model app. And to activate that environment, you have to say source model app /bin/activate. So now I'm inside that environment. What you will see is inside this folder that I have, it creates a, where did it go? Did I close my, okay, open dot. So inside that folder, it created a model app, and it created a folder which has all the libraries, everything that I'm going to use inside. It will remember it. It kind of creates a context. So first thing, I'll copy that from here and install that. Pip install transformers. Now transformers is for Hugging Face transformers. That's what it gets. So it has information of all the models. It has information, but it's not going to download entire Hugging Face on your computer. It has just the information. Torch is for PyTorch, which is what we'll use for calling our models. And then Flask, as I mentioned, we don't need Flask right now for this project that we are doing first, because in this particular project, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use a Hugging Face model to ask a question, and it will answer your questions, and how tokenizer works, all those things, all the good stuff. So I'm going to go one step at a time. I don't need Flask, so I'm going to remove it and run it. So it will take a few seconds, a little bit more than a few seconds, to install all those things and make them available. While it's doing it, I am going to go and open my folder and create a new file, and I'll save it as my model.py. So I'm creating a Python file inside the webinar project, not inside the model app, but inside the webinar project, and I call it my model.py. I'm going to make it as big as possible so it's visible. Now, the first code that I'll write here is I want to get from the transformers framework, I want to import two things. One is auto model for, I think if I'm causal LM, and next one is auto tokenizer. As I mentioned, I'm going to copy each and every line and paste it in the chat. So you guys have that. And if you want to follow along, you can follow along. So here what happens is this imports the auto model for causal and auto tokenizer from transformers library. Now, what are these? The auto model for causal LM is used for loading a pre-trained model, causal language model, such as GPT models, which helps you convert your, like it is that model that I mentioned, which uh, talks to you back and is trained on a lot of data. The next one is auto tokenizer, which helps convert text to tokens that model can understand and vice versa. So what happens is when you train these models, the data that is provided, it's going to cut that data into tokens. For example, if I ask, how is the day today? It's going to take that text, how is the day today, and cut it into 4 different words. How is the day today? Or 5, whatever the number is. My math is not that good. But yeah, so that's what it does. It converts them into a list of items and passes it to the model. And the model looks at those different objects and accordingly decides what is the best answer for that and gives you data back in tokens. So that's why this is the model and this is the tokenizer that does that. So those are the first 2 things. Next thing, now inside that model, I want to do first is I want to create a model name variable. Model name equal to, I don't want to guess it, so I am going to go and search for, I think I have searched it before this one. So in Hugging Face, there is this model called as Microsoft Dialog GPT Medium. Now this model, it will talk about this model, how many times it was downloaded in last month. If you see 253,000 times, what it does is you can provide it questions like, does money buy happiness? One of the questions that I asked earlier, and it says depends how much money you spend on it, which is true. I say money can't buy you happiness, but money can buy things that will make you happy. I mean, Ferrari for me. But yeah, what is the best way to buy happiness? You just have to be millionaire to your, okay, whatever. So you got the idea. You ask a question, it will give you an answer. So it's kind of trained with that. So that's the model that we'll use. Now, if you want to do something similar with ChatGPT or use their API, the problem with, I mean, why are we doing this? Why can't we just use ChatGPT's OpenAI API? The reason we don't do that is because it costs you money. They charge you money for every single request that you make. But this, if you build your own you could write your own model and write your own API, you can ask it questions. It's not as good as, it's not trained as well as ChatGPT because they have the money and space to host stuff. But this gives you a good idea of how they built it. And you can build your own. And this can come in your resume saying that you built something. Now, if you look at this, the model is trained on 177 million multi-turn dialogue from Reddit discussion thread. So that's what this model is trained on. Whereas ChatGPT is trained on trillions of amount of data. So that's why ChatGPT is a little better than this. But again, this is free and you can build your own ChatGPT with it. So I'm going to go to the, so now I know which one I need. I am going to copy this. Just you can copy this top part and go to your code and say, this is my Microsoft Dialog GPT Medium. That's the model name that I'm going to use. Again, as I mentioned, it's pre-trained conversational model and it's created by Microsoft. So it should be good. Next step is I need a tokenizer. So I'm going to say tokenizer equal to auto tokenizer. That's the one that you've taken. Dot from underscore pre-trained model underscore name. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing here. But before that, let me just post this here. Okay. So here what I'm doing is this line loads the tokenizer associated with the model name. The tokenizer splits the text that we give into tokens, making it possible for this particular model to process the input text. The tokens correspond to usually integer IDs the model can understand. So what happens is when you are training a particular model, for example, this model, when Microsoft, it was taking all that Reddit text. And as you know, I mean, this is how I explain to people who are non-technical. It takes all that data and converts it into IDs or numbers. And every text has a number associated to it. And the way AI works is AI doesn't understand, hi, how are you doing? AI understands 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 7. So what AI understands is, or machine understands is, it puts everything together and correlates how one number matches with another. And based on that, it can answer your questions. Now, it can't understand based on a few words. It's like I give this example. Think about it. You have a newborn baby. Now the baby doesn't understand anything. You speak to it for 3 years or 4 years, and that's when it understands that after getting all that data that it got from the mom, dad, family, friends, it understands what does mommy mean, what does daddy mean, right after 2 3 years. I have no experience, but I feel that's how much time it takes. So that's what happened with machines here too. You provide it so much data, and the model kind of picks up from there. So that's why tokenizer is important, which lets you tell the system that this is the model that we're using, and this is the and vice versa, the model will be using this tokenizer. So that's this step. Our next step is, let's say, model. So I'm going to create the actual model here. Now the model, to launch the model, I will use that auto model for causal LM that I've used and say I need that model from model name. So this loads the pre-trained model itself, which is designed for like causal language modeling. So predicting the next word in a particular sequence or answering your question. This specific model is tailored for like generating conversational responses like ChatGPT. So I'll paste this here. Okay, sorry, I have multiple screens, so it takes some time to copy paste. So this is all that we need initially to have our model ready. Now I need user input. So I'm going to specifically hard code here. I'm going to add, so Siam, you have any questions for our model? Just anything, give me something.
Oh,
Question.
is AI conscious?
What is,
Is AI conscious or sentient?
okay, because no, let's give a little bit, give a question that makes like a normal question, not about AI.
Question. Okay, flight time for like average flight duration
Okay,
from.
as I mentioned, this is a model that is trained based on Reddit conversations,
Oh,
right? So it might not get information like, if I'm very sure there's some flight information.
sorry, yeah, I stepped out of the computer for a little bit. Okay, Reddit information. Oh, who will win the, like, based on Reddit data, who will win the election potentially? What's the percentage? I want to know.
The thing is, it might not be trained uh, that well, but I'll still put the question. Okay, we'll see what it responds back, because this is an older model that was uh, probably trained a little early, so we don't know yet. And then, so I took that user input and I am calling a function called as chat user input, which I'll probably write. Usually I try to do reverse. So, and
Question.
then, yes,
Someone here in the email, like, they cannot see the copied code on the chat. Can you post it in the Zoom chat?
am I not adding it?
No, you're not adding it. There is nothing in
Oh,
the
it
Zoom.
says read AI meeting. Okay, I have to select everyone. Sorry, I'm new to
All good.
Bloom.
Yeah, just
This
choose
was the
everyone.
first line of code.
Yeah.
I think I was just talking to the AI, the
Great.
AI reading notes AI. Okay, this was the second line.
Okay. So
Thank
thank
you for letting me
you,
know.
whoever raised it. I'm not able. Niawira. Thank you for that.
And then whatever I wrote right now, where is my mouse? Okay. Okay, there you go. So I think I have all the code that I've written here. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, perfect. So I think Siam, you should also write this code. I know you're not technical anymore, but anyway. So our next step is, so I have the response, but I don't have this chat function. So let me run that chat function, which takes user input. Now, this is how you write. I mean, if you're not familiar with Python, to write a function, you say def, you define a function, name of the function, and the parameter that it takes. So that's what I've done here. Now, first step that I need to do here is I need to create the input IDs, which are the tokens of whatever text comes in. So let's say who will win the elections this year? I'm going to change that question later because I'm not sure how well my AI will answer that, but I'll keep it for now. Input ID is equal to, so I'll take the tokenizer and then I will encode I think the user input first, that's what it takes. It's been a while since I've written such basic code. As you know, there's a lot of tools available these days. So it needs the user input that I've provided that it takes. And then I need to specify, how the AI works is it needs to know where the user stopped asking questions. So it needs an end of, it's called EOS, which is end of statement. I think that's what it's called. So so it will, so I need to pass a EOS token, end of sequence token. So that's what I need to pass here. So I'll say tokenizer dot EOS. Now that is built in. So I'll pass that. So that will consist of your entire user input. So user input, and this means that it's end of the token. And then I need to specify another argument that this function takes encode is I need to specify what is the framework that I'm using. There's two prominent frameworks that people use in the using transformers. One is PyTorch and one is TensorFlow. Now you don't need to learn all these things, but they are much lower level programming languages. So you have to specify here what type of tensors that you get, and that is PT in this case. Again, which is PyTorch. I'll copy this and paste it. I have some training videos on PyTorch, but I feel like there's some other people who have better videos than me on PyTorch and TensorFlow. You can use those, and if you want to learn more on the basics of it. But the first thing that I probably recommend everyone to do is a little bit high level. Next thing that I need the chat history IDs, which I will use the model. So in the previous, I think I'll probably try to go over this one more time. So this will encode the user input text, and then the appending at the end of this is the end of sequence token to signify that it's the end of the user input. And then this PT specifies that the output should be PyTorch tensor, which is required by model for processing this data. So that's why we have that over there. Now I'll say model dot generate. That's the next function. Now this generate function calls the model and generates a response based on your input. So did I spell it right? Nope. Generate. Okay, I think sometimes the thing with using some of the advanced IDs is that they will write the code for you, but here you have to be careful that you are writing your own code and there's no typos. So first thing it needs is input IDs. It also needs something called as activation, which I'll skip. We don't need that right now. So we'll see some warnings, but we don't need that. And I'll say maximum length. It also asks for maximum length of the input IDs of how much maximum length you can provide, because one thing you have to remember is everything you ask is expensive for the machine. Now you're building your own stuff, so you can kind of make it as big as you want, but having it short and sweet is always better because it costs you CPU space or something. So I'm going to say max length is 1000, which is how many tokens you can have. And then I need another one. I think I need is a pad token. Yeah. So a padding to this is required. And that is usually coming from, again, the same thing. Where is our tokenizer dot, but this time I need the ID. So what this does is max length, as I mentioned, is to set the maximum length of the generated response, and then the pad token ID ensures that any padding added to the response will use the end of the sequence token. So that's what pad token is for. So that's how it knows that, okay, where did your sentence stop? Also, you'll see some more funny stuff as and when we do stuff. Okay, I'll just copy this here. So this is our chat history ID. And then finally, we need to return the data back. So chat IDs will get the response. Now it's encoded. So I need to decode it. I'll pass decode and pass the chat history ID. As I mentioned, everything is tokenized when it's sent to the model, and whatever the model returns back is also in token. So you have to decode it back, and it will be in the form an array of a list item. So I'll say, give me everything except the input. So what it does is it will give the entire input list, and then to the end of it, it will also append the output. Now in Python, you can specify that I want the entire list minus the input IDs dot shape from -1. That's where it starts. I think I colon. I'll make sure that I've not done in the first item in there. So this will make sure that I don't have the input and just the output in there. And it needs one more thing. So something that you'll see in a second is special tokens. So I am going to say skip special tokens. So what it also does is, just so that computer can understand what spaces are and what new lines are, it adds some special tokens over there. So I'm going to say skip special tokens equal to true. I think I've closed and opened everything properly. If not, it will get an error and we'll know. So there you go. So this is pretty much it, which very short and sweet, where we used a model, we asked a question, and we are expecting an answer. Now, if you also want to see how the tokens look like, I can create tokenizer dot tokenize. I will give the same question here. This will show us how the tokens look like, which are sent to without encoding or decoding. How does they look like? So you can use this function called as tokenize. If I spelled it right, tokenizer, perfect. I'll save it. I'll comment this out right now. And I'll also post it here. So this is our very first project. Now let's run it. Let's hope everything works. Clear. So everything is installed. And this file is called mymodel.py. Now to run a Python file, you say model.py. It's going to take some time because it's going to get that model from Hugging Face. It's going to set up everything and call this. And as I mentioned, the attention mask problem. And the answer is here. The people who voted for 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 the people. That is your answer. There you go. And you wanted that answer, right? Siam. So I'll give a better question. I'll say, how are you? As simple as that. Clear? You can skip all the warnings that are there. You don't have to worry about them. I am good. How are you? There you go. Much better answer. And my favorite question, does money buy happiness? And it says, money buys happiness, but it also buys a lot of things that make you happy. Oh, finally, maybe it's listening to me. So there you go. That's that. Now, if I want to show the tokenizer part, let me run that too. So you can see how the tokens are generated. There you go. So if you see who will win the election this year, I didn't change the question here. That's why it's using the same question. But if you see here who, and for the space in between, it used that special G dot character. For I think new line, it uses something like C dot character in here. So these are the special characters. And these are the tokens that are sent to the model. And the model looks at them, tries to think based on its data set of what it should answer, and it will answer that. And that's why when I asked this as a question, it got a little confused because probably it doesn't have a data set which matches with this question. But yeah, it works for pretty much a lot of simple questions. So that's what you can build with this. Okay, so that's our initial first part of I hope you were able to get it, where we took a model, which is that Microsoft Dialog GPT medium. And they have more, as I said, medium, but there's a bunch of different models. But the problem will be, there was, I think, the new Llama 3.2 that was released recently. If you go to, where is Hugging Face? Llama 3.2. and it is trained with, if you see here, the 1B at the end, it means that it's been trained with 1 billion data. The reason I'm looking here if on the screen is because the video is here. That's why. But yeah, so this is a really big data set. I tried to run it on my machine, and my machine is pretty powerful. It has 32 GB RAM, and it crashed my computer. So with normal CPUs and low level GPUs, you'll not be able to run this model. Again, how do I use this? Same thing, same way. You can copy this here and then paste it here. Also, they probably have like some code base somewhere. I tried to use this when it came out, and I didn't realize that it's a really huge model and it crashed my system. So, but that's something similar that you can do to use this model. If you have enough resources, if you have a supercomputer, you can probably run this thing. If you can't, then you can use, I think if you want to ever use it, I think there is Google Colab. Now Google Colab comes with some free systems which you can't use, but if you want to use something more powerful, you can pay for it and run your scripts, Python scripts here. So this is another tool that is available. But yeah, just wanted to talk about that. Now, moving forward, our next step is so just wanted to check like if did everyone get this working, or I just want to see thumbs up. Anybody got this working? Yep, I see one. And if you're not working on it right now, that's fine. You guys can look at this video later on and then play with it. So I see a couple of thumbs up. That's good. So moving on to the next one. Now we have this data available. Now I want Siam or someone else to use this chat GPT. Okay, dealing with some errors. Just make sure that you post your errors errors here on the chat, and I'll probably try to give you answers if I know something that is familiar. If not, you can always ask ChatGPT or on or Google. But if you have problems, let me know here or in email, and I'll answer those when I get opportunity. But next thing, now I have this really amazing model available. Now you can use any of the models that are in Hugging Face in a similar way, but you want to kind of provide it as an API for other people to use, or you want to build a website where you can use these APIs as an example. So let's start with the Flask system. So what I'm going to do is I have a lot of stuff open here. Make sure things that are not required. I'm going to close it. Inside this, I'm going to create a new folder. My web app. And that's where I will start coding. I'll create a new file. I usually call my Flask apps app.py, and that's what I'll call it, app.py. What else do I need for Flask apps? So what we will be doing here is we will be taking this exactly same code and put it inside a Flask app. Now, for that, let me make sure that I remove all the other stuff from here. Let's move this window here, make sure that thing is Zoom window is kind of trying to overflow on my chat window. Okay, so some people got it working. Oh, you got the errors working, so that's good. Now our next is doing the Flask app. So for Flask, I am going to say first from Flask, I need to import Flask. What are the different things that I need? Request. And I think third thing is JSONify, so I can convert into JSON. So these are the different things that are available in Flask. One, Flask is used to create the web application. This is the web application service that they have. Request, if you have ever used Flask before or Python before, request lets you make access like request data where you can make the API calls. In this case, we'll be calling JSON data from a post request. So that's what that helps, making API calls. JSONify helps format the responses in JSON. So you get objects sometimes, it will make sure it or string sometimes, and it will make it properly format in JSON So JSON can be used by any programming language that you have for front end or back end. You can use JavaScript, PHP, whatever you have in the front end, you can use that. So we are building kind of like a middle layer API. Now, next thing that I need here is I will use that same transformers. So I'm going to write the same code here. Where is that code? Here. It's always better to copy paste from here. So I'm going to take this. So this is a new file. Make sure you create a new file and I'll paste it here. So that's my initial libraries and things that I need. Also, I'm imported that same auto model for causal LLM and auto tokenizer. So from the transformers library, so that should be good. Next thing that I want to do is there is something called as when you run a API, it tries to run different tokenizers in parallel. Actually, I will skip that for this. I'll probably come to that when we get that error. But for now, first thing that you need to do is create the app. So I'm going to call it app equal to flask underscore underscore name score underscore. So this is how you create a new Flask application by calling the Flask method. And inside that, I've said underscore underscore name underscore underscore, which tells the Flask to look for static files and templates in the same directory as this script. So whatever it needs, it's in the same directory. So that's what this means here. Now, next thing is we need to load the model, and we have done this in the previous thing. So I'm going to make sure that I copy this code here. I will also make sure that I paste it here. Oop, am I pasting it at wrong place? Sorry. Again, I think there was a chat that started and I started posting in that chat. This was the next one. And this is my next line. So this is the same 3 lines of code that we did in our previous file. I just copied it from there and pasted it here. Now, next thing. I don't know if you've heard of routes. So routes are, for example, here, if I say huggingface.com.co, that's a route. Slash is the route, that's the main home directory. If I say slash meta llama, that is one route. And then this is another route that is there. So usually, if I want to create a web app, I would probably just create a route in app dot route, and to that I'll say the route for this. So this is a web service right now. So every time there's a request that comes in to the home directory, for example, we'll be using localhost initially to run the application. But when you build a website, you say, let's say vivinarana.com. When you go to the main home page, the slash will tell you which location it is. Methods equal to what methods does it support? Get. So usually when you make a URL call, it's get is the method that is there. And here inside it in Flask, you can say homepage. And here return hello world. So if I run this application right now, I mean, first of all, it will not run. I need to add some more stuff. But if I run this application and I say localhost slash or whatever port I'm using, localhost colon, let's say 5000 slash, it will open in a browser saying hello world. And we can, let's try that out. Also, one thing that I need to specify here is if underscore underscore, and I'll copy paste that in a second, equal to underscore underscore main. So this is telling Flask that if it's the this ensures that app runs only if this script is executed directly. That's what this script is. And I'll say app dot run. Now I want to run it in debug mode, because what happens in debug mode is as and when I update the code, it will restart the app. So what was the last thing that yeah, the route is pretty much same as the endpoint. I can copy this. I think that was the last one. And then this. Also, it can be configured to make it more dynamic as in when you do more stuff. But let me run this and see if it runs. I am in the same folder, cd my web app. And now if I want to run this project, I'll say Python app.py. And it says Flask is not. And since I have already, oh yeah, if you remember when I initially installed pip install, I did not do Flask. So I will do Flask also this time. So Flask was missing. That's why it did not run. I'll run the app again. And it's running on this particular location. If I copy this, go to my browser, paste it over there, it says hello world. Again, now if I change it here, hello algorithm.
Fabian, sorry for interruption. One person asked that is route the same as endpoint?
Yeah, that's what I answered. I said that routes are same as endpoints, but you can configure them and make them more dynamic. So there you go. So I have my hello algorithm provided here again. Of course, if I copy this, since it's a GET request, I can say make a GET request in Postman. I can paste this URL and send, and you see response showing up here. If I provide HTML text here, I say I want bold. I mean, strong is what is used these days. Refresh, and it's now bolded. I don't know if you can see it, but it's bolded as compared to before. I run this. Of course, this is going to show you with the HTML text. So you'll see that. So this is how you can create routes in here. Now the thing that I want to create, what do I want to do? I want to create that chat interface, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say app.route, and inside here, I'll say I want to do chat methods equal to, now I want to make it a post request. So I show you post is what I want. And then here I'll write the chat function. Now the thing is, what is the last thing that I wrote here? Okay, this was the last one that we have. So inside chat function, I want to do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to say data equal to request dot get JSON. So what I'm doing here is whenever this request is made, so for example, let's say from here, I'm making a post request to this, and I'm giving this endpoint, the URL / chat. I want to also pass some data with it. And that data is the question that I want to pass. So when they pass, so in here, request.getJSON, I'm going to go here raw JSON. Now if the JSON is in a particular format, for example, what should I call it? Let's call it input. Input and the question, how are you doing? Something like that. So if this is the request that comes in, this is the place where it will go. And here I will say data equal to request.getJSON. I'll get that data, and then from that data, I will generate the user input, which I can fetch by, what was the input? Input, INPUT, I'm going to say. So it picks up that input and assigns it to this particular text. Now, once I have that, what will I do with that input, user input? I'll do exactly same as what I did here. Or let's take everything. Input IDs, tokenizer, take the user input, tokenize it, and so whatever the previous code was, same thing. Next, chat history ID, model.generate. I'm doing the same thing what we did in the previous, so I'm not going to go over that. And then finally, I'll say the response that I want to send back is equal to this response that I have. So which is exactly the same code. And now I want to pass it back to whoever called me. So I'll say return. I'll convert into JSON so it looks pretty for whoever is picking it up. And I am going to say response is response. I'm going to copy this. What is the last thing that I pasted? I think I did not paste this. So this is the code for that, where I look at the, again, going through it. When the request is made, which is a post request, I take the data, I convert it into user input, and then I create user input IDs. chat history IDs, which will use the model to generate that. And I take the response, which is decoding the data that I got back. And finally, I am making a JSON, I'm JSONifying the data and sending it back. So it will display at the bottom here. So that's what I built here. Am I missing anything? Let's see. So I think that's pretty much it. Let's run it and see. We'll come to know if I'm missing anything. It restarted the server, so I feel like it's good. I can send it, and it says 400 bad error. Usually, what I do is I try to test it in what do you call it? Uh, in a terminal, just to understand if this data is coming right, because sometimes I'm missing some stuff or something is not right. I feel like it's good, but let's run terminal to see. Because if you see here, it got that chat request on the server. I can see it got the chat request, but it did not work. So what I'm going to do is, another thing that I do before even doing that is restart it. Clear, run the Python app again. It worked. I am going to, instead of running it directly, so the command is on a command prompt or on your terminal, you can say, I think it's curl, and then the request type is post, and then my server URL is this /chat, and my headers, usually I have to provide a content type, which is automatically added by Postman, so I don't have to do that there. So I'm going to say content dash type, and that is application /JSON. I'll post this in the chat, and my data that I'm passing is in JSON format. I'm going to do this, and inside that I have input is what we specified, and that input is hello, how are you? Run this, and it got something, and it respond back with response, I'm good, how are you? So if you are not able to get it on Postman, I'll post this here to see, so you can check. Now I'm going to go back to Postman. Now that I know it's working, so I need to probably debug here on Postman on why is it not working. So this is the right URL, HTTP 127.5,000 chat. I have my content, since I'm sending JSON, I think I need to, let me make sure I copy this here. Maybe I need to use double quotes. I don't know. Send, and there you go. I have my answer. Now I can say similarly here, how is the weather today? I'm very sure it's not going to answer this, since it's been raining for the past few days. Not here. I don't know where it's talking about, but it says it's been raining. And what is the meaning of life? Send. What is love? That's the meaning of life. Okay, according to this, I'll take that. So that's our entire API that we built using the model that we created earlier. So we used the model, we saw how to use the model to build a conversational AI. Then we used a Flask to kind of build something where it gave us a Flask API. So I think we are right on time, 9:30. So hopefully you are able to build this. Did I add all the code that you need? I think so. Are you guys missing anything? Having any issues or seeing some errors? Let me know in the chat, or you guys can email me and I can answer you later. But that's what we wanted to cover, where I wanted to show you how to build an API and then deploy. I think the next part that we have is how do you, so now it's running on my local host, right? How do you or anyone else run this? Now you can use any of the cloud platforms that are available. I think that was our next, where is our, yeah. So this is your take home task. So I will not going to show you entire step by step. I'm going to tell you what to do, but you can do it on your own time. So first thing that we need is Heroku. So now if you want to deploy it somewhere, there's a bunch of different options. Heroku is one of the free one. It gives you a lot of free access. and you can use this. You have to provide your credit card here, but it might not charge you because it will charge you after a particular time. For a small project like this, it will not charge you. There's also, as I mentioned, render.com, which has some free services that are available. If you look at the pricing, it has a hobby where you get some, I think it gives you 100 GB bandwidth, 3 days window to play with it. So it has some data. I've heard people use it. So that's one place that you can use. But I'm going to show you in Heroku. I've already created an account. And the next thing that you want to do is Heroku CLI. Now, again, I don't expect you to create the account right now. You can do it on your sweet time. And also you can use Heroku CLI, which is a command line interface. You can install in both Mac or Windows and run this. I already have it installed. How do I know if I have it installed? I can just say Heroku and it will give me all the different commands. If it says command not found, that means you don't have it. Clear it out. I'm going to stop my local server. I'm going to do some cleanup so I can upload the right code at the right place. So my web app has the app file here. So I'll probably go to that folder, desktop, webinar, my web app, ls. I have one app, that's perfect. So that's all that I need to host on Heroku. Now, if you want to look at steps and you don't want to go through videos, there's some people who like to see videos, some people like to look at the documentation. There is right here Python, which tells you the step-by-step instructions on setting it up, how to set up the entire project. Again, I'm not going to go through the entire process. I'll give you steps. So the first step, you don't have to create a new app from here. This is an option where you can create a new app and do everything using the interface here. Like for example, but I will be using the Heroku CLI here. So I'm in the right folder. Now, the first step, I'll have to remember, hold on. Okay, yeah. First step is it needs two different files. One, it needs to know what server that I want to use, what server framework that I want to use. Now I have Flask running, but I want to use Gun Icon, which is one of the very popular tool that is used to run your HTTPS server. So the steps for this is pip install Gun Icon. So I'm going to do that. Again, the problem is I'm not inside an environment, so it will install all the frameworks that I need. So I want to convert into a smaller framework. So I'm going to say Python -m. I'm going to start my virtual environment, venv, my Flask app. And I'll say source my Flask app /bin/activate. Now I'm inside this. I'll make sure that I have all my libraries installed. So I have to do that all over again because it's a new virtual environment. And I'll copy it from here. And I need this gun icon or gunicon. I don't know how to spell this out, but how it's pronounced. But there's a unicorn over there. So I would probably say it's gunicon, maybe. So I have this installed. It takes a few seconds, and then Gunicon, I'll install that, and that's ready. Now let me see what I have. So I have this. Now my server or Heroku needs to know what all different or first thing is what is the server that I want to use. So I can say echo web Gunicon. And that's what I want to use. I want to run a web app and I want to use this server. And next is what is the name of my file, which is app. And inside this app.py, what is the application name? If you remember, what we used here is app. So I'm going to say app:app. And oops, so do this. And this thing I will have to so what Heroku needs is this inside a particular file, and that file is called proc file. Let's say proc file. So this will create a proc file, if you see right here, that is used by Heroku to know what the server is and what type of application it is. Next thing that I need is what are the different libraries that I'm using, because what happens is when the application is deployed on the server, it will run those files. So for that, there is a command called as pip freeze. So whatever libraries I've installed, which was Gunicon and Python, Flask, or TensorFlow, all those things will be added inside a file called as requirements.txt. You need to make sure that the spelling is right, because a lot of times I have issues with Heroku, where if I put a wrong spelling, sometimes I say requirement.txt. It has to be requirements.txt. So make sure that is right. You can also specify, create a new file called as, I want to provide the version of my Python, which is 3.12.7 to a file called as, I think it's Python version, I think Python dash version. That's the file, and that will be created. So these are the different things that you need. Again, first one is you can just right click and create new file. This is the proc file. Then you need the Python version, and you need the requirements.txt. Now, if you look at it, it has everything imported here. And I probably should see this one is here, Flask is here. So what are the other things? These are all the other libraries that these libraries might need. So I probably should have TensorFlow. So tokenizer is here, which also came because of TensorFlow, or what was transformers, sorry, transformers, and Torch, PyTorch. So it added all the required libraries automatically to our project. So that's what I need. So now once I have this, the next step is go to my folder here. I'll make sure I'm in the right folder. And then I can do Heroku login just to make sure that I am logged in it opens a new browser and it says login to Heroku CLI. I'll say login. Since I'm already logged in, it's going to say you're logged in. I can confirm by going back to my command prompt, and you'll see that logged in as Vivian Arana. Perfect. So that is done. Next thing is I'll have to create a repository. So now this is like only 5 steps to get it out there. Git init. This is the first step. It creates a repository. Next, I'll say Heroku create. This will create a project called as warm. This is the URL. So if you remember when we added that, where is that? I think I have it in my chat. So let me copy it from the chat. So let me open a new file here. So if you remember this command, the curl command that we gave our Postman before we hosted the entire website or Flask on our local API, local machine, right? So now Heroku create a new project for me. This is the project. And if you pass this provide app and /chat, this is the location where your application will be hosted. So that's how you host it publicly. Now let's go through this. It's going to take some time, so I'm not going to go over the entire process, but I'll make sure that I'll show you the steps. So I did create. Next, let's see git status. So I have some files here, right? These files that I need to push. So I'm going to say git add dot. It will add to my repository. Let's make sure that, come on, takes a few minutes, seconds. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it takes time. Okay. Nothing added, commit, but untracked files. Oh, wait, still doing it. Okay. Now let's look at git status. So it should all be green. Perfect. So all the files are added to my git. Now I need to commit -m. I will say initial commit or my first commit. And next, I want to push this to my, just let me show you in Heroku. If I go back to Heroku, where is my basic? Okay, if you see here, when we opened it, there was nothing, right? So if I refresh this, since I created a new app, there should be a new app that is created. If you see, this is the app that is created, and it's saying that, oh, Vivian is doing something. He pushed something, initial release. He did something here. So that's what it knows that it kind of gives me a log of all my activity. Now, finally, I want to push the code. So I'll say git push Heroku master. What this will do is this will push all the code that I have into the Heroku server, and it will download everything, all the resources that are there in requirements.txt file, and then take those file and build your web server and then run your web server. And then finally, you'll be able to run this curl command, or from Postman, add your URL that you created right here, and then run this command and it will give you the answer. So that's what it should do. Of course, when you're hosting stuff on particular servers which are free, there are sometimes problems that come up, and especially the amount of tools that it downloads because of this requirements, all the basic stuff, it's going to take some time. So I'm going to run this command and leave it for later. But so if you see, it's writing the objects, and then it will start downloading and running through all those things that we did. But this is the process to create your application and host it to a cloud environment. 9:41. How are we on time? Good.
Yeah, I mean, ideally we should be done, but no, thank you. I mean, this is great. I hope that this was, should we go more towards the wrap-up activities, Vivian, like
Yep.
more? Okay,
I
great.
think we are, I think as per the coding, so as just to give a
Hmm.
short, what all we did right now was we went through Hugging Face, we looked at some models, and we used one model that is provided by Microsoft for free. Keep your eye open on that. There's a lot of different models that come in, and you can use all those models in a similar way. And every single model has documentation on how to use it. And again, we used a model that does conversational AI based on the data that is provided to train it. You can always use some other libraries. If, as I mentioned, if you have better computers, you can use something bigger. Other than that, we learned how to use that code that we used to create a model to have your own API built. And now tomorrow you can use this API to build your own chat engine, kind of like something like ChatGPT. But again, it will not be as good because, as I mentioned, the data that is trained on is very limited. And what else did we do? And then we saw how to host it on a cloud service. I've used Heroku, but you can use Amazon AWS, Google, or your favorite web server, or you can just run it on your machine on a network and let others use it through the network. Sometimes people host it on their local network in the company, and in the company itself, through the local Ethernet, you can access all these things. So these are different things that you can do. Yep, that's it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Vivian. And thank you everyone for like being patient with this. I know that in the evening it's kind of difficult to keep like your yeah, attention, but thank you so much. What I wanted to cover for the next 5 minutes, and then we can go with any Q&A and more on the wrap-up activities, is that what could be the next steps in my mind. I'll go through it, and Vivian, if I miss anything, feel free to add them. So as I said in the beginning, that there will be like certificate. I mean, it like if you want it, it's not essential. It's completely optional, the take home things. So what I will do is that we'll send you like a detailed email in general on the next steps. Like, don't have to worry or remember, but I'll still give it here. If you need, or if you have any questions, just email to take@algorithm. I'll connect it with Vivian so that Vivian also have access to like this email, and it can be much easier than exposing like personal emails. So you can, if you have any question to Vivian, if you are stuck yourself, just send at take@algorithm. That's the number one for troubleshooting. Sometimes it's extremely difficult to like show what's happening. So I hope that you know loom.com. So just go to loom.com and basically like share your screen. Like, it's a very simple screen sharing app. If you're stuck, just send that to the email. If you're stuck, that's another thing. Another like, just letting you know that sometimes you, like, a lot of these companies require credit cards, but they just like, these are like placeholder credit cards. They don't actually charge any money. If you want, you can create an account in privacy.com, and you can connect with your like bank, and you can create unlimited credit cards with like limits. You can set the limits on each credit card, and it won't charge money for you. Like for in general, you can use if you have never used privacy before.
Privacy, that's good to know.
Yeah, I mean, I have like probably like more than we have like business set up with privacy kind of websites where we have, I don't know, maybe like 200 credit cards for
They
small.
have like, because I use X1, which is one of the credit card companies, and
Hmm,
they have like mobile app, and I create like one-time use uh, credit card
disposable credit
sometimes.
cards.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but the privacy is good, I think.
Yeah,
Again,
it's
I'm not
good.
advertising anything, but
Yeah, we're not advertising, not advertising. These are just tools we use. So that's like feel free to use it for any kind of thing you need in the future. And then we'll again give these all these things, but I'm still giving it here. Yeah, we will send the recording via email. Thank you for asking this question. Great question. Um, I'll give the like also a Google form. Once you go to the Google form, basically, I mean, this is for certificate if only if you want it. You will, I mean, type your full name exactly how you want to appear in the certificate. Type your email, I mean, just for like getting the copy of it. And then if you have already hosted or deployed, I think they will be able to give a URL here, right?
right,
Now.
yeah, the URL that I created, it can give something similar to that.
Yeah, so you can just copy paste that Heroku URL, or if you're using Render, any other services, not an issue. You can just copy paste that. And this one I'll make it optional, but it will be really like great to have it. Is that just give me a second? It's also good for your own exposure, and we'll reshare your posts. Or like we'll give some credits to you, and so that you get somewhat exposure in LinkedIn. Is that uh, it will be just like sharing about whatever you learned. We'll give you a template, but honestly, you don't have to follow the template. It will just literally have the takeaways that, okay, what did you learn from this thing? Like in this whole process, whatever insight you used, like any tools you have used, you can tag all the tools like Hugging Face or Flask. If you have learned something interesting, tag those. Again, you do not have to use our language. You can literally do any of those. I'll make sure that this is optional, so that you are not like forced to do it. But if you do it, that would be immensely like appreciated. And if you do it, we'll also like share all your statuses or something. You'll get some like visibility in your profile as well.
Also,
Uh,
Siam, in the last form, in the form,
hmm,
if you don't want to, because Heroku, you have to give your credit cards and stuff, and if you don't feel like it, what I've done in the chat is I posted a
hmm,
screenshot
hmm.
of the machine of it running in on my local machine. So
Yeah,
you guys can just send that to me or to
yeah,
Siam,
yeah,
and then that can also count as a. If you want to open that chat image, Siam,
yeah.
quickly. So what
Okay,
I've done is I have just done a screenshot of
okay.
the
This,
of the postman that I showed you. So you guys
yeah.
can send something like this, or even your curl command. If you've done curl command, that probably is good to know that you have learned something.
Yeah, you can also share like a picture like the one which Vivian shared. You can also literally like it's more about in LinkedIn, it's more about sharing your story on what you learned and the whole experience that will give you some visibility. It's in general, whenever you are sharing your learning, it has multi-purpose benefits. Number one is that definitely it will increase your exposure in front of whoever is potentially hiring you for a project or a contract. But also it has benefit of like making sure that it has like it's mentally binding for you. Like you'll actually remember it better. So we'll fix some of these things, like make it like optional, or like change some of these forms. What else did I want to say? Oh, and then this is also not essential. We'll send it to you. We created, and this is not for everyone at this moment. It's only in dev, but I will share this. I am extremely trying to promote every talent who wants to land a job now or in the future ever. You have to be extremely active in LinkedIn, and it's so difficult to be like creating posts in LinkedIn. So I'll give you the URL here later, also in the email, or I can also give it to here if you want. Um, yeah, no worries, Adnan. Thanks for coming. So yeah, so if you go to the brand manager, you can just literally uh, so uh, you can create posts in your LinkedIn generated by AI, and these are like all formatted by us, looking at the best kind of like people, and then you can copy paste this and use it in your for your own LinkedIn activity. So just wanted to share that as well. What else is there? I think we can spend like 5-10 minutes for any kind of question you guys have. I think Nia Virat, I genuinely hope that I'm not not butchering the name. There's a question about next bootcamp cohort. When is the deadline? I mean, we'll keep doing couple of workshop once in a while, like most likely every 2 weeks this year. I'll share some. Just give me a second. I'll share the next events link. If you wanna sign up for the next event, we'll create like AI agent using LangChain.
Yeah, that's the next request that we got from a
Yeah,
lot of people about how, because AI agents are everywhere and everybody's, I think there's an AI agent that I created which applies to LinkedIn jobs for me automatically. So what
yeah,
it does is it takes my resume and just posts it on a bunch of different jobs, and I was just testing with it. I don't know if anybody's going to get back to me. I hope not,
yeah.
but that's something that I created. But I have heard a lot of request about creating AI agents. So that's our next bootcamp that we are planning to have, where we'll try to do something quick and small like this.
Yeah, so that's going to be the next workshop, and we are thinking that if there is enough interest in actually like if there is enough participation in the workshop, and if you are really enjoying it, early next year we might also have a more hands-on like full scale bootcamp. We are still reflecting on designing something like that, but I would say like that would be phase 2. What I want you guys to kind of like do now is that coming to the workshops regularly and then like just being active into the learning process. And if you are coming enough active here, we can think of also creating a bootcamp for AI related training.
Yeah, let us know what all different things that you're interested in, and we'll try to. I'm trying to do more on this with Siam because I think we have a lot of requests. So if there's anything particular that you guys want to learn, we can work on that.
Yeah, so I know that we talked a lot today. Any question we can take like few minutes for any Q&A you have, like genuine questions. We both have a lot of experience. We can help maybe somewhat. And if someone wants to drop off, thank you so much for joining. If you have any question, feel free to stay for 5 minutes more. Thank you so much for joining again. Like it shows the dedication on Tuesday evening.
I
So
think question, yeah, from Farid.
Farid's question. Uh, I'm an electrical engineering graduate, strong interest in AI. Yeah, I'm gonna probably stop the recording, but Vivian, do you wanna take the question?
Yep, sure. So yeah, so I think the best path for you is to use some of the tools that are available right now. So something like what we did today. Now, again, as an electrical engineering background, I mean, first thing